Chapter 1136, Return. When they had just arrived, the Weiwu army were given their own canteen, but it was only because the Heavenly Network did not know much about the Weiwu army. Now, Zhong Yutong had realized that an army a person raised would turn out the same as the person. The Weiwu army, who had been brought up by Lu Shu, was definitely not normal. Slowly, the Weiwu army began to eat with the Heavenly Network. Many people even made friends with them. They chatted with one another during meals. The chefs in the canteen realized that the Weiwu army liked eating spicy food. It was mainly because spicy food had more taste than ordinary food. To these rough men, Malawan was very addictive. As Hao Jichao ate, he asked, "Why do you like spicy food so much? What's so good about spicy food?" Li Haitan suddenly looked up and looked at Hao Jichao. "Where are you from?" Hao Jichao was dumbfounded. Why did he suddenly ask this? "I am from Chuanzhou." Li Haitan was shocked. Teacher Bai Nua said that Chuanzhou people like spicy food. If you are from Sichuan, why can't you eat spicy food? Hao Jichao was amused. If I am from Chuanzhou, must I eat spicy food? This person on my left is from Mengzhou. Ask him, does he know how to ride a horse? The one on my right is from Luzhou. Ask him, does he know how to operate an excavator? The person on Hao Jichao's right suddenly said, I can operate an excavator. The person on his left said, I can ride a horse. Hao Jichao was about to break his bowl. So what if I can't eat spicy food? Is it against the law? Why am I getting so angry every day even though Lu Shu isn't in Luo City? From Hao Jichao's distress, plus 199. At this moment, they heard Lu Shu's laughter from outside the canteen. I didn't do anything when I was gone, right? Lu Shu had just walked in when he heard Hao Jichao complain. Then, he immediately saw Hao Jichao producing distress points for him. Li Haitan suddenly stood up and looked at the door. Great Lord, you are back. Lu Xiaoyu, who was beside Li Haitan, did not look up. Little Fury was about to run. It was not quite appropriate for it to appear at this kind of place, as it was easy for it to get injured. But before it could move, Lu Xiaoyu glared at it. Little Fury obediently sat on the table. Little Fury typically ate with everyone. But the rest sat on chairs, while it sat on the table. Needless to say, Little Fury had become like a mascot of the Heavenly Network, especially after it eliminated the slave owners in Kuan City. Lu Shu walked to Li Haitan and sat down beside him. He had returned to his apartment, but realized that Lu Xiaoyu was not around. Thus, he had come to the Longmen Fortress. Lu Xiaoyu was eating with the Weiwu army. Suddenly, the atmosphere was rather strange. Lu Shu looked at the food on the plate. He found something to talk about. Oh, today's rations are not bad. Hairy crab. I like that. At this moment, Li Haitan stood behind Lu Shu with a bowl in his hands. Great Lord, they said that you had a lot of fun in Japan. Is the food there good? In an instant, Chen Zuan looked at Li Haitan in shock. It was as if he had found a friend. But at the same time, everyone began to eat. There was not even the sound of chopsticks hitting the bottom of the bowl. Lu Shu was stiff. The food in Japan will never be as good as the food in China. Li Haitan asked, Teacher Bai Nua said that the cherry blossoms there are beautiful. No, no, said Lu Shu. Li Haitan asked again, Teacher Bai Nua said that the names there are different. For example, Matsushima Nanako and Noguchi Nanako 1. Great Lord, when are you bringing us there to play? Lu Shu flared up. Are you done? Didn't I say that it's not fun? What's so amazing about the names? You said that Teacher Bai Nua taught you this, right? We have names like that in China too. Everyone was dumbfounded. Lu Xiaoyu slowly put down her chopsticks. Tell me, whose name is made up of 5 characters? Lu Shu paused for 2 seconds. Leshan Baboji. From Lu Xiaoyu's distress, plus 666. From Hao Jichao's distress, plus 666. From. You're crazy. Lu Xiaoyu could not stand it. She pulled on Lu Shu's sleeve and walked out of the canteen. Chen Zuan and the rest could only heave a sigh of relief after they left. Chen Zuan gave Li Haitan a thumbs up. You have guts. I like that. Chang Qiuqiao glanced at him. Don't try to look for trouble. Lu Xiaoyu sat on the wall of the Longmen fortress. She asked, did you encounter any danger in Japan? Lu Shu thought about it. It was slightly dangerous, but it was not because of the master that was killed. Are you talking about Wen Zaifu and Yu Fuyao? Lu Xiaoyu asked. Yes, said Lu Shu. I feel that there is something wrong with them, but I don't know where. Wen Zaifu is an old acquaintance of ours, and Yu Fuyao killed all those slave owners by herself. Why are you overthinking this? Lu Xiaoyu paid no attention. You do know that even if you don't do anything, they will eventually come and find you, right? But I cannot allow them to use the earth as the battlefield, said Lu Shu calmly. That's right. This time, I brought the spirit of a master back. Who will you choose to inherit the natural law? The bishop or Johnson? Or the 4th rank 1 spirit? Lu Xiaoyu was now able to control 4 spirits, but to be honest, the 4th rank 1 spirit could only be used with other spirits. It would not be very powerful. It would not have any special skills either. Lu Xiaoyu thought about it. Johnson then, so it'll be easier to create swords for you. Do you have a way to keep spirits now? Lu Shu explained. Yes. Do you remember the gourd? The one that can twist the heads of others. To be honest, Lu Shu was startled as well. He had told Zhong Yutong that he wanted to bring Li Dian in for an interrogation. The gourd had been obtained from Li Dian. Lu Shu wanted to know the origin of the gourd. Lu Shu thought about it. This head-twisting gourd seemed to be a perfect match with the origin of distress points. Was any ordinary person able to immediately know the name of a stranger? If Lu Shu did not know, he would not be able to use the gourd to its fullest potential either. Li Dian was on his way to Luo City from Qingzhou. He was rushing over. Lu Xiaoyu sat on the wall and softly said to Lu Shu, should I capture Duanmu Huangqi's spirit as my 4th spirit? What do you think? Lu Shu thought about it. I think that it's possible. Chapter 1137, Calling Out the Heavenly King. The merger of the Wei-Wu army and the Heavenly Network was a huge task. However, be it Lu Shu or Nie Ting, neither of them had mentioned about the matter of integrating the Wei-Wu army into the Heavenly Network. Nobody had thought of how they would exactly integrate them into the Heavenly Network. As compared to the other members of the Heavenly Network, Chen Zuan was definitely the most familiar with the Wei-Wu army. That was because he was close to Lu Shu, and since the Wei-Wu army was loyal to Lu Shu, they had built up some sort of friendship. At this moment, Lu Shu suddenly discovered something extremely strange. Li Haitan frequently walked together with Bai Nuo, the teacher of their cultural class. Bai Nuo had a small build while Li Haitan looked like a tower. When both of them walked together, the Longmen fortress looked as though it was about to explode. However, at some moments, their contrast was rather cute. This made Lu Shu slightly confused. To be honest, he did not expect Li Haitan to be so lucky. Based on what Lu Shu thought, after the Wei-Wu army came to Earth, the Imperial Dragon soldiers should be the most popular. Zhang Weiyu and the rest were a little dispirited, but Lu Yizhao had a vibe of an idol who was capable. Why did Li Haitan get so lucky? Although both of them had yet to break the news and Li Haitan was angry with Bai Nuo all day long, to the members of the Heavenly Network and the Wei-Wu army, both of them were an item. Chen Zuan sighed as he watched from the back. Even Li Haitan found a girlfriend, why haven't I? Hao Qichao looked at Chen Zuan, your standards are too high. PSSHT, Cheng Qiuqiao laughed out loud. His standard is too high. He would totally confess to all the girls in the world. Lu Shu said after thinking, for Chen Zuan, it is not because his standard is too high, it is because the girls' standards are too high. Maybe they were too demanding about the other gender, said Cheng Qiuqiao. From Chen Zuan's distress, plus 666. Chen Zuan's face turned black immediately. Are you guys doing a crosstalk? At this moment, Zhong Yutong walked over to Lu Shu and said, Yu Mingyu has already found some information. When the space pathway opened previously, a notorious practitioner was conducting some activities with the army at the passageway at North America. They used to serve the Darkness Kingdom. After the Darkness Kingdom was defeated, they became homeless. Moreover, the intelligence information from our side shows that they appeared in areas where the Southeast Asian slave owners were. Therefore, they probably had collaborated with the slave owners of the Luniverse and completed the dispersion and transformation, receiving the intelligence firsthand. Lu Shu thought about it. Those who served the Darkness Kingdom were indecent. The soldiers committed too many crimes, robbing the practitioners, harassing potential young practitioners, and many more. What should we do? Let's make a trip. Chen Zuan wanted to try. He was too envious of how Lu Shu could always go overseas to settle matters. Not only was he able to get good food and travel, but he might get eyed up by girls. Chen Zuan and the rest had gone to Europe before. When they left Sardinia, the girls liked them a lot. That seemed to have just happened yesterday. Chen Zuan thought that since he had no hope in his own country, it was a good idea to go overseas. Then, Lu Shu shook his head and looked at Zhong Yutong. Where are they now? Some of our people have already infiltrated the army. They are currently located in Laos and recuperating, said Zhong Yutong. That's why I said that you should make a trip down. Kill all of them while they are together. I have already gotten hold of a list of their names. Lu Shu said calmly, give me the list. Zhong Yutong was confused as to why Lu Shu suddenly wanted the name list. However, he did not question much and passed the name list to Lu Shu directly. We have obtained 2 real names, but the rest of them are only their aliases. It's all right. Lu Shu took over the name list. The name list does not include anyone from our side, right? No, our man is called Wenizha, said Zhong Yutong. At this moment, a gourd suddenly appeared on Lu Shu's hand and he said calmly, Jacqueline. Martin. Lu Shu looked at the gourd. Strangely, there was no celestial powers surging out from the mouth of the gourd. When the collection of gods killed Xue Xingyu, Lu Shu did not take notice, but he was certain that Xue Xingyu was affected by the gourd. Why did the gourd lose its function now? Could it be because it was too far away? However, the celestial powers had clearly reduced. At this moment, there was an influx of distress points. Lu Shu immediately took out his notebook to record down this wave of distress points. The names of these people sounded French and he was not afraid that he would mix them up. That was strange. Lu Shu looked at Zhong Yutong. At that moment, Zhong Yutong's mobile phone rang and he received a message. Jacqueline Martin's head was twisted and she immediately died. Zhong Yutong looked at Lu Shu in astonishment. Lu Shu had read out the name in front of Zhong Yutong. Moreover, Lu Shu's emotions were unstable. Zhong Yutong did not believe that the death was not related to Lu Shu. What sorcery is this? Sorcery? Lu Shu was unhappy. Is killing one from miles away so impressive? Zhong. Hold on, can you stop calling me that way? Zhong Yutong hurriedly stopped Lu Shu in a fright. He was panicking. Zhong Yutong did not understand. Lu Shu was already troublesome himself, why did he suddenly master sorcery like that? He could kill anyone just by saying their names? Lu Shu had advanced to the master realm. When he was still in rank 4, the usage distance of the head-twisting gourd was already nearly 1 kilometer. Now, with the celestial powers of a master, he was way more powerful. Therefore, when he recited a name in Luo City, one of the soldiers in Laos died. Nevertheless, Jacqueline Martin was really unlucky. Of course, if the person did not die after Lu Shu recited their name once, he could recite it the second time. Or he would recite it once every minute, 60 times every hour. This was much more convenient than making a trip to Laos. To be honest, Lu Shu did not know what was the effective distance he could reach with the gourd. Nevertheless, from what Lu Shu knew, apart from Nieting and Shuejin, Lu Shu was pretty certain that he was the most powerful person on earth. This is better, Lu Shu said in relief as he looked at the head-twisting gourd. In the past, the head-twisting gourd stopped functioning before he was satisfied with it. Moreover, he used to be very prudent when using it. Only a small group of people who had interrogated Li Dian knew that the gourd existed. Lu Shu looked over and Chen Zuan said respectfully, "Brother Shu, just call me Little and in the future, don't be so formal." Chapter 1138, Li Dian's Life Path. Lu Shu looked at Chen Zuan with the corners of his mouth curled up. "Little An, you know fear too?" Chen Zuan smiled bitterly. He had joked many times with Lu Shu previously but only just discovered that he knew sorcery. He would not be afraid if Lu Shu beat him up. However, what happened was strange. Why did someone from a few hundred miles away die after Lu Shu recited their name? That was too terrifying. However, everyone here was smart. They knew that the problem was with the gourd. Or else, why would Lu Shu take the gourd out for no apparent reason? Moreover, Lu Shu had to say the full real name. That was because Lu Shu called the soldier's full name seriously earlier on. However, when he called Zhong Yutong by the name Zhong, nothing happened. Chang Qiuqiao said cautiously, "Brother Shu, why don't you call me Qiao?" Lu Shu did not know what to say. Scram. At this moment, he took out the notebook which he used to record the names. After reading the whole list of names, some of them gave him 1,000 distress points while some gave him very little. Those who gave him 1,000 points had died. Those who did not were still alive. However, Lu Shu was not anxious. He decided to recite the names once in a while until everyone on the list gave him 1,000 distress points. Zhong Yutong and the rest were stunned. This scene was too astonishing. In the past, everyone thought that Heavenly King Nye was the top assassin in the Heavenly Network. Apart from the different types of traps, he used many strategies. However, Lu Shu's killing method was way more terrifying. Everyone did not even know whether it was counted as a killing method. In the future when this news spread, what would the 9th Heavenly King be known as? For example, "You are dead if I know your name within 10,000 miles. However, Zhong Yutong and the rest were not the most astonished people. Instead, the intelligence officer from the Heavenly Network who had infiltrated the army was the most astonished. He was in the midst of drinking and chatting with the soldiers and upon sending the name list over, everyone beside him died. What on earth, was someone using a voodoo doll? At this moment, Zhong Yutong ran back to the office and took out another name list. These are the brats who had served the Darkness Kingdom in the past. Heavenly King Lu, please take a look. Zhong Yutong's tone was extremely friendly. Then, Zhong Yutong looked at Lu Shu in anticipation. Lu Shu's face turned black. For the Heavenly Network, Zhong Yutong was willing to do anything. Within such a short period of time, he was already making use of Lu Shu's new capability to accomplish things. Zhong Yutong explained, these people had interacted with the Heavenly Network before. Most of them had claimed that they wanted to hunt you down. Hunt me down? Asked Lu Shu in disbelief. I mean they wanted to hunt the Heavenly Kings down. Aren't you a Heavenly King? That means they wanted to hunt you down, smiled Zhong Yutong faithfully. Without hesitation, Lu Shu started to read out the names. Most of them gave him 1,000 distress points after their names were read. However, some of them did not give Lu Shu any distress points at all. That meant that they were not within the effective distance. Lu Shu made Zhong Yutong calculate where these people would approximately be. Then, Lu Shu confirmed that the effective distance could span half of the world. This was how terrifying a master was. If he had not risen to the master realm, the effective distance could only be within the country. Perhaps, he could not even reach the remote areas in the country. Lu Shu explained, I think we should keep this low profile. Yes, 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 Zhong Yutong said in excitement, this is a trump card. Heavenly King Lu, hold on for a moment, I suddenly recalled about a list of traitors of the Heavenly Network. Although there are only a few of them, some of them have yet to be caught. Lu Shu was stunned for a moment. There were traitors in the Heavenly Network too? That was something that could not be helped. Which organization had no traitors? At this moment, Zhong Yutong invited Lu Shu to take a seat in the office and told him that his assistance would be needed in the future. Lu Shu said that he could do it, but if he had to read the names in the future, the details about that person had to be made known. Moreover, an official document of the Heavenly Network stating to arrest or kill that person had to be shown. The capability of a practitioner should not be exploited. Zhong Yutong was stunned. He was embarrassed, you are right, I was too rash. Also, Lu Shu said, all of them are overseas, so this is considered an overseas mission, right? Remember to transfer me the bonus. Zhong Yutong was silent. From Zhong Yutong's distress, plus 666. Lu Shu looked at Zhong Yutong. Don't tell me you are not planning to give me my money? How much is the bonus? What about the bonus for my trips to Europe and Africa? I am not feeling well, I will take my leave first. Zhong Yutong turned and ran while facing Lu Shu. He looked extremely strange. At this moment, a vehicle transporting weapons drove into the Longmen fortress. Lu Shu turned around. He knew who was transported back. Li Dian. Both of them met in the black market in Qingzhou. Lu Shu exchanged the head-twisting gourd with his magical stone. Afterwards, they quarreled and Lu Shu had even scared him by acting as a tree demon. However, Lu Shu did not think of him until the head-twisting gourd returned. Before this, Lu Shu thought that the gourd, bronze compass and the cloth with gold thread were passed down from Li Dian's family. After all, the Chinese civilization had a long history and it was normal for some things to be passed down. Many of the items in the black market were old items from the ancestors. However, after the head-twisting gourd returned, Lu Shu realized that it was not as simple as he thought. When he last met Li Dian, he was only a rank 5 practitioner. The Heavenly Network did not give him much trouble as after all, he did not commit crimes like Liang Che. Therefore, he was arrested for 2 months before he was released and he ran errands in the black market. However, after 2 months of decent behavior, he reverted back to his old self and began committing crimes. The Heavenly Network gave him another chance to redeem himself. However, Li Dian proved that a leopard would never change its spots. The first thing Li Dian said when he got down from the car was, I have turned over a new leaf. However, when he saw Lu Shu, he was terrified. How could he not remember Lu Shu? When he served his jail sentence, he saw how terrifying Lu Shu was from the news. Li Dian had wondered if his life would be different if he had not met Lu Shu. Chapter 1139, Investigate My History. Li Dian stood among the crowd. Around him were the core leaders of the Heavenly Network. Suddenly, Li Dian felt as if he was a mouse that was surrounded by cats. Lu Shu looked at Li Dian and smiled. Long time no see. Your complexion is not bad. The rations are fine. Li Dian laughed bitterly. I saw your record. Lu Shu tried to control his laughter. Why are you trying to rob people again? I don't want to sell magical stones. I can only cheat others to maintain this standard of living. Li Dian looked hurt. Fine. Lu Shu said, don't feel like you've been wronged. The person you've cheated has not even felt wronged yet, Why should you? Oh. You're right. Li Dian felt that if he displayed a better attitude, the ninth heavenly king might be more tolerant, since they had known each other for a long time. I have something to ask you, said Lu Shu. Where did the gourd and the other things come from? Why were they settling old scores? He still had 3 years of imprisonment to serve. If they included this, he might need to spend another 3 years in prison. Lu Shu laughed. Think harder. Li Dian was about to cry. Don't treat me unfairly. It really is a treasure that has been passed down in my family. As Li Dian spoke, he secretly observed Lu Shu's expression. Lu Shu took a file from Chen Zuan and passed it to Li Dian. I got this for you. To be honest, your imprisonment can be shortened. How long it can be shortened by will depend on your performance. But don't be happy too quickly. We will not let you go to commit crimes and harm ordinary people. Thus, even if you have served your full sentence, you will still be under our surveillance. You will only be able to move around in the Longmen Fortress and help out. This was the Heavenly Network's principle. They would give Li Dian freedom, but this freedom was relative. After all, releasing a habitual criminal like Li Dian would be irresponsible towards ordinary people. Li Dian received the file and took a look. It was a list of suggestions to allow him to shorten his sentence. He knew that as the ninth heavenly king, Lu Shu would not trick him. There was no need to do so. Li Dian was not his enemy either. Then you have to keep your promise, said Li Dian. Tell me, where did the gourd and the other magical weapons came from, said Lu Shu. Li Dian was not stubborn. He knew that he had deserved this. It was not easy for the Heavenly Network to allow him to speak. In the past, many unskilled but strong people thought that they were capable. When they started to work, they realized that there was no use acting like a hero if they were not dauntless. First, I want to tell you something. Li Dian carefully said, the compass is ours. One of my ancestors was an alchemist. In the past, they relied on geomancy to support themselves. Then, they concealed their identities. Oh. Lu Shu declined to comment. Then what about the gourd and the cloth? I stole them, Li Dian lowered his eyes. Lu Shu paused. Where did you steal them from? Don't speak nonsense. Did you steal them for other people? It's a long story, said Li Dian. The gourd and cloth are very strange, so I remember them clearly. I stole them at Luo City. Back then, I came to Luo City to make a living. Be honest. I came to Luo City to cheat people, said Li Dian. From Li Dian's distress, plus 199. Continue. Back then, I was practicing fortune-telling in the old city area by feeling bones. It was a coincidence. I encountered an extremely strange lady. Even though I have been doing this for over 10 years, it was my first time encountering someone like her, said Li Dian. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. What kind of person? She was too obese. I could not feel her bones, said Li Dian. Lu Shu's expression darkened. Did I allow you to crack jokes with me? Let me finish. Li Dian said, back then, people were not rich. When I saw how fat she was, I figured that her family was doing well. Thus, I tried to cheat her of more money. You also know how hard it was for people like us to earn money. Yes, continue. Lu Shu nodded his head and said, so did you steal the gourd and cloth from her house? Yes. Li Dian nodded her head. When I went to her house, there was a baby there. The cloth was supposed to be used as swaddling clothes for the baby. The gourd had been placed beside the doll. I thought that she was rich, but her house was empty. There were not even any decorations. I saw that the cloth and the gourd were not ordinary items. Thus, I stole them. Lu Shu was silent. Was there anything special about the baby? No. The baby seemed sickly and hard to take care of. I don't know how the lady became so fat either, but her baby was, Li Dian said. If I tell you something else about the gourd, will my sentence be shortened? Lu Shu calmly said, yes. Just tell me. The gourd originally had a crack in it. For some reason, after more than 10 years, the crack healed by itself. When the crack had healed, I also realized that the training techniques passed down in my family were useful. Thus, I knew that the gourd was a treasure. Li Dian exclaimed. Thus, the gourd had been cracked once for some reason, but it healed with the dawn of the magically rich era. As for the mysterious cloth, it was only a swaddling cloth for the baby. Chen Zuan, Zhong Yutong, and the rest did not know why Lu Shu suddenly wanted to interrogate Li Dian. Everything seemed very mysterious. It was as if only Lu Shu knew the truth. Only Lu Xiaoyu seemed to have a clue, as she knew how sickly Lu Shu was when he was young. If this baby had any similarities with Lu Shu, it would be that they fell sick often. Thus, at this moment, Lu Xiaoyu suddenly understood that Lu Shu was investigating his own history. Do you still remember where that lady lived? Lu Shu asked. It will be troublesome to find her now. Back then, I had been groping about in the dark. Li Dian thought about it and said, but I will definitely recognize her if I see her. She has left a lasting impression on me. This is what you have said. Lu Shu took a deep breath. I will bring you to find her address. If you can find the address, I will shorten your sentence. As long as they found the address, they would be able to know who had lived there by checking the records, especially since it was in the old city area. Nothing much had changed in the past few decades. But the problem was, Lu Shu wanted to know when he had been sent to the orphanage, and who the woman was. Lu Shu never felt that the woman was his mother, as he had guessed a few things. He was just curious about how he had crossed paths with this woman. Chapter 1140, Li Dian's Desire to Live. Lu Shu asked Zhong Yutong to bring Li Dian over from Qingzhou. He had even obtained the official document to shorten his sentence. No matter how slow Chen Zuan and the rest were, they would know that there was something strange. But why would Lu Shu pay so much attention to Li Dian? To Lu Shu, the gourd was now in the 5th level of nebula. Earlier, it had been absorbing celestial powers to nurture itself. This proved that the gourd belonged to him. The gourd was his. The swaddling cloth was his as well. Li Dian had taken these away from Lu Shu. Thus, Lu Shu was puzzled. Why had he appeared with an ordinary lady? How did he end up in the orphanage later on? Zhong Yutong had deployed people to bring over the cloth. Gold thread was woven into it. Lu Shu picked up the cloth. Back then, when they had entered the Salt Lake relic, Li Dian had used this cloth to block the senses of the magical trees. Back then, Lu Shu had thought that the cloth was very mysterious. But when he thought about it now, it was just a diaper. What kind of baby resulted in an ordinary person treating this piece of treasure like a diaper? Lu Shu looked at Li Dian. I will bring you to the old city area. You'd better recall some details before we arrive at the old city area. Li Dian shivered in fear. It had been over 10 years. Li Dian suddenly thought of something. What if he could not recognize the place? He knew what the 9th Heavenly King was capable of. At that moment, Lu Shu saw Li Haitan walking alone. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. Haitan, why are you alone? Li Haitan was confused. Great Lord, so what if I am alone? Li Haitan revealed that he could not understand why the Great Lord had asked him such a question. Lu Shu thought about it. Where is Bai Nua? Oh. She said that she does not want to see me anymore. Li Haitan scratched his head, but his expression was relaxed and natural. It was as if he was not troubled. Lu Shu paused. Did you make her angry? No, Li Haitan was puzzled. She said that she was jealous because I can train. I told her about my training experiences. I even told her that if there was anything she didn't understand about training, she can ask me. Then? Lu Shu was puzzled. There was nothing wrong with this. Then, she said that she wanted to ask me about other things. I told her, if there is anything outside training that she doesn't understand, don't ask me. Li Haitan explained. Lu Shu, Chen Zuan, and the rest were dumbfounded. Was he a highly skilled bachelor? 2 cars drove away from the Longmen fortress. Li Dian sat at the back. Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao sat beside him and kept an eye on him. Li Dian's feelings were hard to express. Not many people had experienced being escorted by 2 rank ones. Just as Li Dian was extremely nervous, Chen Zuan asked, "What if this fellow cannot find the place?" Cheng Qiuqiao said, "Fry him in oil? Steam him in clear soup?" Li Dian said, "You must be joking. I will definitely find the place." When Chen Zuan and the rest heard words like baby and a swaddling cloth, and put it together with Lu Shu's serious expression, they suddenly realized that this was probably related to Lu Shu's origins. They all knew that Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu were orphans. Thus, they would not bring up the topic of parents. The coldest thing in the world was being abandoned by your parents. When the entire world said that, "Mother knows best," you did not even know what your mother looked like, let alone what she knew about you, as she had never provided you with any warmth. Cheng Qiuqiao suddenly said, "Brother Shu, there are times when parents are probably just." I remember that when I was in high school, I helped my mother register for an online chatting application. Later on, I tried to log into her account, but I had to answer a question before doing so. The question was, "What is the name of my son?" I keyed in Cheng Qiuqiao, but I could not log in. Back then, I wondered whether I was her biological son. Chen Zuan was speechless. Lu Shu was speechless. Lu Xiaoyu was silent. Although Cheng Qiuqiao seemed to be joking, Lu Shu knew that Cheng Qiuqiao was disguising his kindness to comfort Lu Shu. Lu Shu smiled. "There's no need to comfort me. I don't think that my plight is tragic. More accurately, I am looking for the truth. I am not finding my parents." Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao did not quite understand Lu Shu, but Lu Xiaoyu did. From the beginning to the end, Lu Xiaoyu was the person who understood Lu Shu best. The 2 of them knew that Lu Shu might not have parents. "Li Dian, do you still remember where you practiced fortune-telling?" Lu Shu asked as he drove. Li Dian said, "I remember very clearly. North Street." After the car stopped at North Street, Li Dian alighted. He was dumbfounded. It has changed a lot. A city would change. Even if the main facade of the old city area had not changed for the past decade, the shop signs and the streets would be different from what he had remembered. Li Dian was irritated. "I only said that it has changed a lot. I didn't say that I don't recognize this place. Back then, I sat at that corner of the street. If everything remained the same, her house is 2 streets away from this place. Heavenly King, please put down that trident." From Li Dian's distress, plus 666. Lu Shu put the trident back into the seal of lands. "Lead the way." Li Dian walked in front, while a group of rank 1s and rank 2s followed behind. Li Dian had imagined similar scenes in movies, where the characters escaped from prison. He thought about it. Under these circumstances, if he did not want to die or commit suicide, his best option was to cooperate with Lu Shu and find the person. But when Li Dian saw the foreign street, his legs went soft. Li Dian suddenly asked, "Heavenly King, what if I really cannot find that lady? How much longer will I be able to live for?" Lu Shu paused for 2 seconds and said, 5. Li Dian panicked. 5 days? 5 hours? 5 minutes? Lu Shu said, 4. 3. 2. Li Dian turned pale. Stop counting. I will definitely find her. Let me think about it. From Lee Diane's distress, plus 999. Lee Diane's desire to live allowed his brain to think quickly. That night, after he left North Street, he walked 2 streets away, then. Lee Diane suddenly pointed at a 4-story building. He excitedly shouted, it was the 4th floor of that building. I remember clearly. I climbed up 4 floors using my hands. Lu Shu smiled and looked at Li Dian. Having the desire to live is a good thing. Then, Lu Shu turned to look at Chen Zuan. Tell Zhong Yutong about this. Ask him to check the past owners of this house.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens to tell us things that we